Hello, YouTube. How are you? And let's get Instagram ready. Let's see here. Um, Working on it. Come on, Instagram. And Instagram is live on Instagram. Very fun. All right, so it looks like we are. I'm gonna go there. Elisa's here, Mandy's here, Janine is checking in from the upstairs. Very fun. Anne checking in from Denver. Hey, Anne, I will be in Denver, um, not officially, in July. I'll let you know more about that. Kathy's here, Kristen's here, April's here, Instagram's checking in nice. Good evening to you. Karen out of Long Island, hello. Good to see you. April, I think I got you right. Very fun. Let's see, YouTube's checking in. Let's see who else we got. Very fun. So, Lori, hello. Diane, hello. Judy, checking in from New Orleans. Hello. Amy, woohoo. Oceanside, California. That's dedication. If you're Oceanside, California, and you're watching Mike on live streaming, you're focused. How cool is that? Kathy, did I get you from New Hampshire? I think I missed you earlier. Hello, Betty from Chicago. Linda, hello. Jamie is here, checking in from Arkansas. Debbie, hello. Huntsville, Texas. Joyce is checking in. Lori from Central Texas. Let's see who else we got. Terry's here from Jersey. Sherry from Vermont, the Green Mountain State. Joy, hello. Some Bellevue, Washington. Oregon. Shane from Oregon. I like it. Karen, let's see. So Janine's checking in as me. So if you see me chatting in there, that's Janine. We ran into some issues last night where we had some crazy spammers come in. So I gave Janine permission to be me. She's upstairs right now, so she is me for this moment, and she can boot any one of you out that starts acting crazy. So just know that it is. Nicole checking in from Texas. Mary Lou from Central Texas also. Cindy, hello. Margie, hello. Ellen from northeastern Louisiana. Marty from Illinois. Minnesota Go Vikings, says Sue on Instagram. Kristen from Vista, California. Hello to you. Teresa's checking in on Instagram. So I'm not sure which one, they're all different, right? Jason, there you are, sir. Good to see you. Hope all is well up in Toronto. We officially gone international. And then Dan checks in from Winnipeg. So we've crossed borders, I think next time they ask me on my security clearance if I have any foreign contacts, I'm going to have to say yes. I'm going to have to say, yeah, I got a whole bunch up in Canada. Kelly checking in from OH. IO. Good to see you for sure. Hope all is well there. Mandy, I got you. Lee from Arkansas. Tammy, hello. Chris, good evening. I like your pup. Your dog's adorable. Kelly from Baltimore, formerly Carmel. Yeah, the other Kelly chimes in with IO. You can always get someone from Ohio to answer. All you gotta do is say OH, and that's it, and that just kind of flows. Tammy, thanks for that. Colette checking in from North Carolina. Crystal's there. Karen saying hi to Janine. Very fun. Lisa's here. Very cool. Becky from Eastern Tennessee. Valparaiso. Pam's checking in. Let's see. Very fun. Very, very, very fun. Tandy's over on Facebook. Northeastern Louisiana. July in Colorado. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm going. It's just a matter of what capacity. Sorry. But Denver is the plan for July timeframe. I will let you know. I don't know how much of this I can share, but I'll be in Detroit in a couple weeks. If you're interested, if you're near Detroit and you want to do a meetup in a couple weeks, I have something special planned. I'm waiting. Let I can't check. I'm waiting to see if I can release those details or not. I don't know if I can. Yeah, Jason, thank you for that. So here's the deal, Jason. So, um, when I started this, commercials was not at all on my radar. It wasn't really something I was interested in. But I started adding up the numbers for the cost of what I'm spending doing this. Completely glad to do it, by the way. But it starts creeping up, and the plans that I have for the show just take it to a whole nother level. I met with the media company again today. We had two different meetings. We had one that was about an hour, and then we had another meeting that was 2.5 hours. So we spent all day with production companies and video cameras and soundboards and more stuff that I know. And the thing I can tell you is I left there on fire. And what the reality is that, I mean, that's the cost of what we're trying to do is easily, 7, 8, 10,000 bucks a month, easily. So the only way truly to pay for that is commercial spots. So obviously the folks on Patreon is the folks on Patreon are awesome, and that's growing quite nicely. But the reality is the production stuff. This production company has the ability to take this show completely on the road. So I got a couple speaking engagements lined up. We can bring the entire thing there. We're talking about live shows with 4 cameras, guests, Skyped in people, 2-way video. I'm trying to think of what else we talked about today. We just talked about so much, but the reality is we're going to a full production TV show. That's really what we're doing. So you imagine a full production TV show at least once a week. This show continuing exactly the way it is during the week. So adding that piece to it, I mean, the cost just skyrocketed. And so what was really, 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 really cool is so I was meeting with the production company, and they're all on board. I don't have the details yet. And Aaron, if you're watching, you better be. But Aaron, if you're watching, what was really cool is they believed the same way you guys believe. They can see the potential. They can see what we've built already, and they want a piece of it. So we're gonna kind of collaborate, do it together. So you're gonna see when we start doing this, it'll be a whole different show altogether. You'll think you're watching Dr. Phil, except for it's Dr. Dag. So crazy. So anyway, that's the long answer to your question, Jason. Is the advertisers right now? We picked up Casper, we picked up RX Bar, we picked up HelloFresh, picked up Health IQ, picked up Warby Parker is going to come on board, and then we're still working stuff with Nokia, and that's just the first round. All of the stuff that we've had so far, I approve of. We turned one down. I turned one down the other day. I got the email. I was like, no, it doesn't fit. So, there will be some things that'll be kind of questionable for some of you, like, really? But if I'm letting you know, I validated it. But the reality is again, the only way to cover just bandwidth alone, just paying for the data to transfer back is close to $1,000 a month for the new stuff, and that's not even including when we start launching the TV show. Long story, Jason, but thanks for the opportunity to explain it. Let's see. So I got Karina is from Cincinnati. Marianne, hello. Orange County, California. Cindy's here. Ontario. Joan, hello. Yeah, Lori, behave. No spammers allowed. Janine will kick you out. She doesn't mess around. Boom. Just out you go. So that's kind of fun. So Angie said, I just asked on the Wing page if you were on live. You just answered my question. Glad to be here with y'all. If you want to know when we're going live, let me know. Twitter, I think, is the best way. I'm really solid on Twitter. The moment I decide to do a show, Twitter will let you know, whether that's noon, whether that's 5 p.m. When I decide I'm going to lock in a show, Twitter will let you know. Twitter will remind you 15 minutes before the show, and then Twitter will also tell you at the moment the show goes live. Follow on Twitter, turn the notifications on for the account Wise Advice, and you'll get that. So very, very, very fun. Barb checking in from Iowa. Very, very cool. Good to see you. Let's see. Kathy from Southern California. Lexington, Kentucky. Vicky's here. Karen, I got you. Donna checking in from Kentucky. Stacy says, what happened last night? Meaning, I'm not sure what happened. Oh, no. So just Someone came in last night and say they're from Argentina and they wanted money. I'm like, dude, trust me, if I had money, I wouldn't, I'm not going to give it to a spammer. I'd give it to Operation Fat Dag. Lee, of course we miss you. Of course we miss you. Dan says I'll be your contact in Winnipeg if you're meeting up here, for sure. I like that. Gina from Mississippi. Hey from Connecticut. First time catching you live. Corey, good evening. Let's see. Scrolling through. Lee originally was on episode 131. Very fun. So 131 and then 261 is Lee. Dan, I have been to Canada more than once. Yes, for sure. Jacob's checking in from Wonder Lake, Central Florida. Paula's here. Long Island's in a house. Long Island's been in a house, but welcome to you. And joining in from Alabama, Sue, go Patriots, she says. I think I see in there. Very fun. Yeah. So truly, I honestly don't know what I can share with Detroit, but I can tell you, I can only probably bring about 20 people. It's going to be limited to 20 people. I don't believe there's a cost associated with it, but I'm still trying to find that out. But I'll let you know. But if you're remotely interested in an opportunity to hang out in Detroit for something you have not seen before, it's not a meetup. It's something completely random and awesome. If you want to do that in Detroit on a weekend in February, it's kind of as much as I can tell you. I just don't know if I have permission to share it. It's amazingly exciting, but I don't want to let the cat out of the bag if they don't want me to share it. I just don't know. I emailed them back asking if I could share. I believe I can, but I just want to clarify with them before I do share. But if that's a remote interest, a weekend in Detroit in February, email me, put Detroit in the subject line so I see it, and I'll save it. And then when I can release the details, the first 20 folks who are there, the best of my knowledge, it costs nothing other than whatever your travel is, but I'm not entirely positive of that either. But it's not a moneymaker for me. It's just an opportunity to share, and I promise you'll want to be there. It's almost worth the drive from wherever you are just to go see it. We'll see. Deborah from Chicago. Cindy, no, I am still active duty Air Force. That's my primary job. I still manage recruiting here for the state of Indiana. Excuse me. Chris is asking if anyone would be interested in a Wise Wingmen gathering, and then Tammy says yes. And Linda, I will be recording this. In a second, we're going to break into the actual show. I asked some questions on Facebook ahead of time, so I could kind of make sure the show, the actual recording piece that we put out in on the actual podcast, I wanted to make sure that flowed a little better. I know we love the Q&A session. That's kind of been the feedback I've been getting, is you guys like this. But I also know, as if you're listening to the show, hi Linda, hi Joyce, hi Jelly, that doesn't flow well on the actual podcast app. It flows well while we're hanging out live, but it doesn't flow well here. Yeah, KCG, thank you for that note. Yeah, if you go to fatdag.com when you're done, you'll see my before and after pictures. You'll see my picture of me 263 pounds wearing my Air Force uniform. It's embarrassingly stupid. However, that was me, so I'm not embarrassed by it, but it's shameful that I got to that point, but I fixed it. So that's the cool thing. I'm still active duty. Got about another year and a half or so before I retire. And Kelly, you ought to come to Detroit. Yep, that would be a road trip worth doing. So very cool. Well, thank you, sir. Nope. Yep. So, but you got to email me, because I'm going to lose track. So you've got to email, and I do believe I'll ask if I can get more, but I do believe it's probably going to be limited to about 20 folks. So it's really going to be one of those, the first 20 people who email in, I'll share the details with you when I can share, and then I'll just make a list as to what the opportunity is if you want to attend. So, whew, fun. Let's see. Yeah, Ellen, I came in a little early just because I wanted to go to bed tonight. So that's kind of the plan. All right, Chris is planning. Chris is planning a plan. Susie's here. Susie, you're gonna like this episode because we're doing a live Q&A, and one of the questions that I got asked, I'm gonna read you the question, and let me know if you like this question, and then I'll answer it during the live show. The question is, I would like to know more about your Nokia health tracker and scales. I am seriously considering switching from Fitbit to that for my husband and I. How does the battery hold up on the trackers? So when I do the show live, Susie, that's one of the questions that's going to be in this episode. I just ask for questions and people give questions. So when that question popped up, I was like, cool. I'm like, and I was glad to see you pop in. So in a couple minutes, we'll get to that question, but I think you already know the answer. I'm not sure if you're still out there or not. Susie was out in Vegas for the Consumer Electronics Show, and Nokia Health unveiled the new Nokia Health HR step tracker that's rose gold. I got to admit, pretty cool. So, all right, let's go ahead and roll into the actual show. I'm very behind on your comments, but before we roll into the show, again, thank you for all. If you're interested in hanging out in Detroit, shoot me that email with Detroit in the subject. We'll talk about that. Thank you for your continued sponsorship and your patronage. If you are interested in that, fatdag.com, click on Become a Patron. If we get that up, then that continues to help out. And then who knows what happens next. So are you ready for episode 162? Oh, I love the Thermo too. Yeah, the Thermo is... it's funny because when you sent, or Alyssa sent me that, but when you guys sent me that, I was kind of like, yeah, I'll try it. It's cool. I like technology, so how could I not like it? And when I've actually used it, like for real, to check Megan's temperature and then check mine, and then it was actually neat to see the data get loaded into the app. I was actually, at that point, I was convinced that I liked it. Before, I just liked it because it was cool that you sent it to me. So. Dun, 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 dun. And I believe, last I checked, the promo code DAG20 worked at Nokia Health on the Body Plus scale. So we'll talk about that. It's in the show. It's actually, believe it, it's not a commercial. It's a real life answer. This episode brought to you by me. So very, very, very fun. All right, so episode 162. Let's get a mic check. Let's get some water. Let me scroll down here to make, man, a lot of your comments. Woo. Cindy, I agree with you. Cindy on Facebook says she'd like to see Mike funded 100% by the community. Cindy, I agree. My projection is what I have planned for the show is going to run $5,000 to $8,000 to $10,000 a month, based on where we're going on with the full studio, production company. So I'll keep you posted on that. I think it would be awesome, though. Mic check, testing. Beautiful. All right, water time. It's water time. Susie, I'm glad you caught it live too. And you and I are due for this is the Mike and Susie show at the moment. You and I are due for a phone call. Right? I think you know. All right, cheers. Cheers. I love water. How can you not love water? All right, Susie's in. For those of you on Instagram, FELBERMA needs an accountability buddy. I think we all do, right? That's why we're here. It's funny when I was talking to... Oh, maybe I'll save it for the show. Let's just do this. Episode 162. Oh, sorry, one more thing. One more thing. I am your host, Fat Dag, and you're listening to Wise Advice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at fatdag.com and follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Wise Advice. Send in your comments, your questions, your celebrations. I'll include them as part of the show. But before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. Hello, welcome to a very special episode number 162 of Wise Advice. This episode comes to you commercial free from the folks that who've stepped up as a wingman to become a patron of the show. The Linda, Victoria, Mitzi, Amy, Jennifer, Stella, Candy, today alone stepped up. Thank you for keeping this episode commercial free. Glad to be here. We want to do something special tonight. I had a great talk today with the media company. Things are progressing quite nicely in that realm. I've probably spent about maybe 3, almost 4 hours today brainstorming and writing on walls and just continuing to draw out this entire plan of what we have built together. And I think a lot of times as we walk this journey, you know, we certainly know, and I say it in the opening of the show, is that my weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. And that was kind of the discussion today is I know why I'm doing the show. I know why I'm trying to build something great. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I need someone who knows the how to help carry that piece forward. So as we're drawing on whiteboards, and you know, this whiteboard was really cool. Actually, wrapped around a corner. It was curved. It was the coolest thing I ever saw. But as we're drawing on the whiteboard, I kept thinking, I know why this is important. You know, having real people with real inspiration who are in Connect daily, posting, who are in Connect, reaching out to other people, that is why we're here. We all know how to do this. There's no question that we know the formula for losing weight. But we need a little bit of accountability. And as we find wingmen along the way, that's what builds this community. That's why you're in the Wise Wingman Facebook group. That's why you're tuning in live on the show. It's amazing as we do this show every single night is to watch you guys interact with each other. You know, here we are, a whole group of strangers working the same journey, and we found a way to connect and we can relate to each other. This particular episode, I want to do something a little different. We've done it before and gotten very, very good response from you guys that you like it when I just say, hey, there's no format. What's on your mind? What questions do you have? What can I answer? So that's the format for tonight's show. I put it out on Facebook before the show on the Fat Dag Facebook page and said, hey, what's your question? That way the show flows a little better. So if you're inclined to join in next time, go, make sure you're following the Facebook page. But Laura writes in with the first one. She says, I'm keeping within my weeklies, but I'm feeling a little lost without the blue dots to shoot for. Do you have any advice now that freestyle makes the blue dot less desirable? Well, sure. So I agree with you. Now that freestyle is rolled around and you have rollover points, you have your weekly points. So the blue dot range changed, right? It's now -10 to +3 will earn you a blue dot. Well, if you roll over 4 points and then you eat them, then you're out of the blue dot range, but you're still very much on plan. If you dig into your weeklies and eat rollovers in the same day, then you don't get the blue dot. I understand that. I completely get the mindset. And so I agree with you that at this point, the blue dot becomes a little less desirable for a 7-day streak. But what I mean by less desirable is that you still can eat healthy. You still can eat on plan. You still can do everything that you did to lose the weight. And so what you do is you focus more heavily on following the plan, using your dailies, using your weeklies, using them in moderation, rolling over points, using them. But what the blue dot does is the blue dot kind of helps you eat, in a somewhat of a kind of even pattern, let's just say. You're getting about the same amount of calories every single day. So now you're training your body to eat less because typically we overfeed our bodies. And for me, I've been doing it my entire life. So the blue dot for me, that range just gets me eating nice and consistent every single week. Overeating leads to generally falling off the plan. The days that when I work the plan, if I save a day to eat all of my weeklies and all of my rollovers on the same day, sure, I can stay on plan doing it that way. But the reality is I'm reigniting the addictions. I'm refinding comfort in that, oh my God, I'm so full feeling. And all those things that when I'm at a normal height and body weight now, that they don't feel as good. Being at a goal weight feels way better than the feeling I used to get from being too full and overeating. So the blue dot range generally prevents that from happening. Now, once in a while, you're going to have those rollovers. You're going to have days where you're really just, you're going to an event and you want to use those points, and you have the flexibility and the freedom to do that. The caution you need to understand, though, is that if you eat chicken breast for lunch and a chicken breast for dinner, and then the next day you eat 60, 70 points, even though you could probably work it into your plan, is you're doing that spike on your body, and then you're, again, like I said earlier, you're reigniting the addiction. So continue to focus on the blue dots. I'm going to stay pretty true to stay in that blue dot range to the best of your ability. But more importantly, stay on the plan and just continue to focus on changing your eating habits, and that's what the blue dots do for you. So, Laura, thanks for the question, for sure. Deborah asks, how do you wrap your head around the fact that there is no finish line? As I go through this journey, that thought really scares me. Well, Deborah, I can tell you my opinion on this. There actually is a finish line. That's been my mantra from day one. That is what I professed, when I first started this journey. I'm a big believer, and there absolutely is a finish line in this journey. That finish line is goal. That finish line is lifetime. And when you reach it, you simply at that point say, okay, I have a new goal. I have a new finish line. So let's rephrase it for a second. If I said to you, hey, Deborah, you want to go for a run after work? What's the first thing you would ask me? Hey, Deborah, would you like to go for a walk? Hey, Deborah, let's hop in the car and let's go for a ride. Every single time I asked you the question, you would follow it up with, where are we going? How far are we running? How far are we walking? What time will we be back? You wouldn't go start running a race if they didn't tell you where the finish line was. So what do? You just go out and run around, and then at some point someone goes, okay, that's it, we're done? No, it doesn't work that way. So I'm a firm believer, and it's my opinion. There are some very intelligent people who disagree with me on this, but this is what I use to get to goal. There absolutely is a finish line. The finish line is goal. I ran as fast as I could to get to goal, and then when I got there, I put a new finish line ahead of me. I said, okay, this is a new race. This whole new race is called Lifetime. I've been running this one now for 18 months. I love it. I love every piece about it, but I'm so glad I completed the last one. I don't want to run a race, the same race, for the rest of my life. At some point when you start running, you start at the 5K distance. You cross that finish line, and then you go for a half marathon. Okay. And then you go for a full marathon, or maybe you start doing some speed, but every single time you have to cross the finish line before you can set a new goal. So that is my answer on how do you wrap your head around the fact that there is no finish line. You say there absolutely is, and you move it once you cross it. You reset, and you get a whole new finish line, and you keep moving. So that is how I do it. There's a weight loss finish line, as Tammy says, and there is a lifetime finish line. And they're different, but they exist. Next up, Mandy writes in, and she says, this is live from Facebook. She says, I would like to know more about your Nokia health tracker and the scales. I'm seriously considering switching from Fitbit to that for my husband and I. How does the battery hold up on the trackers? Mandy, thanks for this. Thanks for the setup. As you know, Nokia Health and I, very good friends. I've been using back with when they were Withings before. I've had this scale for, I don't know, probably a dozen years or so. And, I've absolutely loved it. I weigh myself every single day. It goes to Twitter automatically. It goes to Facebook automatically. It goes to the front of my website automatically as I use a third-party app to make all that happen. And the fitness tracker is amazing. So when they sent me one to try out just to see if I'd like it, I honestly I wasn't interested in it as a step tracker. I love the scale. The scale is my favorite product. I was content with that. And so they sent it to me, and I have it here with you. And if you're obviously those of you who are on Facebook, you'll be able to see it, but the rest of you won't. But it looks like a watch. That's my favorite piece about it is it looks like a watch, and it has a step tracker built right in, and so it counts the steps. And the coolest thing about it is the battery seriously does last 28 days. It's incredible. And so that's one of the issues I had with some of my other products is I didn't feel like charging them every single night. That was annoying to me. And so not only was it annoying is the reason it was annoying is more often than not, I'd go out for a walk, the battery would be dead, or I'd leave it in the charger. And the old adage is if you go for a walk and you don't bring your step tracker, do the steps still count? Well, yeah, of course they do. Your body still tracks them, but the Nokia Health Steel HR gives me my heart rate, but I can wear it for an entire month. It's awesome. So I like that, and I actually believe the company is committed to our health and taking care of us. So that is a fun reason as well. There's a couple different scales out there. I have the Nokia Health Body Cardio Scale, which gives me a pulse wave velocity in the morning, gives me my body fat, measures it through my feet, gives me my heart rate, tells me the weather. It's a cool product. And so there's a couple versions out there, and so you can find which one. Maybe some of you don't need all of that data, so you can find a price point that works for you. But huge fan of Nokia Health. But I'm also a fan of anything that you're going to do out there that gets you motivated to get to goal is a good thing. And I put a post out there the other day on Connect talking about the idea that my step goal on my tracker is not 10,000 steps a day. My step goal on my tracker is I think it's set to 3,000 or 4,000 steps a day. And the reason that is because that is something I can do every single day. It doesn't matter. Now I know there's people out there again that can do 10,000 steps every single day. They can do it. I can hit my 3,000 every day, but I try to make sure I get them before noon, and that's kind of my goal. But there are days where that just doesn't happen for me, and so therefore I was like, okay, at 8:00 at night, I'll go do a little bit more to get 3,000, but I'm not going to miss it by 7,000 and not do it. So I'm in it for the attendance goal and the fact that I can wear this thing for an entire month, and then go into the dashboard on the computer and look at all the data. It's just it's a huge win. So, Mandy, thanks for the setup. I really appreciate that. It wasn't the intent to make this a commercial for Nokia Health, but folks from Nokia Health, if you're listening, call me. Jan writes in and says, "Hey, I'm really nervous about being on maintenance and succeeding there for 6 weeks. I don't know why it bothers me so much." Jan, I agree, and so that was the same issue I had. Is that you're right? You get to goal, and in a lot of us mentally, you kind of just have that emotional release of hitting to goal, and it feels so amazing when you hop on the scale and you don't want to lose weight. There's nothing like it in the world. I've told you that more than once. You believe that now because I've told it to you so many times. Hopping on the scale in a non-weight loss mode is incredible. So when you get to goal, there's an emotional release that happens the day you step on the scale. And then they turn around and we say, okay, for 6 weeks, don't you dare gain 2 pounds. But that's not really how it works. The weeks of maintenance are for you to determine how many points you can bring back into your day and maintain your body weight. As you're working maintenance, generally speaking, we don't care what the weight entry is for those next 6 weeks. So what we want you to do is we want you to come in every week and we want you to weigh in. We want you to adjust your points back up out of weight loss mode into maintenance mode. But we're not going to penalize you for not understanding what your body's going to do when you reach goal. So it's a simple mindset is you come in, so you make goal, you adjust your points up a little bit, up to 6 is the range, you figure out where you need, and you start adding 3 points in a day, you come in and weigh in. Now, if your weight continues to go down, then you add more points in. If your weight goes up, then you subtract some points out. And you just, for 6 weeks of maintenance, you have to figure out how many points a day your body needs to maintain. At the end of the 6 weeks, you'll have mastered that process. So it's not the first couple of weigh-ins you need to stress about it. You don't really need to stress about any of them, but what you do is you just figure out, it takes you 6 weeks for you to figure out how to work this new body that you built. It's an amazing body, and it's an amazing journey when you get to goal. Ditch the pressure, live your life, just keep working the plan. Nothing really changes. The only thing that changes is just the daily point allowance that you get, and it just adjusts up a little bit. Sue writes in, says from Facebook, she says, I'm still struggling with freestyle. I've tried to adjust to it, but I still haven't been able to. With Smart Points, I felt like I could do it forever. I feel like I'm on a restrictive diet on freestyle. Any tips to help me get on board with freestyle? Sue, my number one tip for you, helping you get on freestyle, is to let you know that I was there with you. I actually, as a leader, again, my opinion, as a leader, when they announced it, I wasn't happy. I sat in the room. I lost all my weight using Smart Points. I lost 91 pounds in about 6 months and maintained it for an entire year. And now you're going to change the program on me? I wasn't really interested in a change at that point. So you had to get to the point where you say, okay, I have to trust the people who've made the plan. So it doesn't mean that the plan is perfect for me. It just means I trust the folks who developed it. And then now I need to figure out how to use the plan they've given me to adjust my new journey and maintain it. So again, at first I was just like you. I wasn't exactly thrilled. It did feel like I was on a chicken and turkey diet. But what I've come to find out now is that's not how it works for me. Is now, this morning was a great example. We went to the hospital, and we had already had a light snack for breakfast. We get to the hospital, and I had eggs because why not? They were 0 points. But before, just the opposite. I wouldn't have eaten because I wasn't going to track the points for them. So therefore, I was able to have a good meal this morning on top of it. So for me, now that I've adjusted, it's a lot more freeing. So now, how do I get you to make that shift? Is it's a little bit of trust, it's a little bit of faith, it's a little bit of relying on each other to learn some tips and tricks along the way. That's what the accountability team is for. That's what Connect is for. That's what the Wise Wingman Facebook group is for. But as you follow the plan and as you continue to work the plan, you will start learning things about the journey, and you will completely change the way you eat. You'll start building a foundation of healthier eating. I can tell you in the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've added things to my plate that I've never, ever tried before. Ever. Now I'm trying them and I'm like, okay, I could eat this. And so now I'll slowly start mixing that in. But the things that I'm trying are things that are healthy that I was refusing to eat prior to that. So you can do this, Sue. I know you can. Trust me, I was one of the biggest critics when it came out, and I've switched because it took me a couple months, but I worked it and I like it. From Facebook again, Sharon writes in and says, okay, a plateau, is it physical or is it my fault? Well, Sharon, that's a question that we're going to have to dig a little deeper in to find out what's going on. There is a valid term as a plateau. It absolutely does exist. But many of us, we misdiagnose it. Many of us, stop tracking. We stop working out. We start taking 1 or 2 extra bites of something. We don't track it, and we call that a plateau. So here is my suggestion on whether you think it's a plateau or not. If your weight is staying consistent, first off, if you're making healthy choices and you're working out, celebrate that. That's the reason to win. right? But let's go one step further and let's say, no, I actually still want to lose some weight. And so would you commit to sending your accountability buddy a screenshot, a picture of everything you eat for the next 4 weeks? If you will commit to that, and at the end of 4 weeks, you weigh the exact same, then yeah, you're probably on a plateau. But more often than not, when I see folks who come to me and say they're on a plateau, one of my first questions is, can I see your tracker? And then generally it's followed up with, I'm not so sure. So again, there is a valid term as a plateau. It does exist, but my experience and from what I see is that generally speaking, we start this plan on fire. We really are attacking it. We know what we want to do. And then, the difference between maintaining your weight and losing weight is only 6 points a day. And it's we just talked about that in maintenance. For some people, it's not even that much. So if you're one of those people that as you're losing your weight, if you're down 0.2, down 0.4 every single week, but consistently did it, then more than likely, when you get to goal, you're not going to be able to add 6 points in a day. If you were losing an average of 2 pounds a week, you may be able to add up to 6 points into your day. It's really going to depend on your body. That's why we give you the maintenance to figure that number out. But so if you're at that mindset or that mode where you're down 0.2, 0.4 consistently, and you're not tracking that extra, whatever, not tracking the ketchup or not tracking that extra bite or not tracking the office brownie, well, then you're bringing in 4 to 6 points. And that generally is what we call a plateau, but we've refused to make the admittance that that is what it is. So that's what I'd say, Sharon. If you're willing to commit to sending your tracker every day for the next 4 weeks to an accountability buddy, do that and then tell me at the end of the 4 weeks whether you're on a plateau or you just didn't log everything you had. So Don writes in and says, do you limit yourself on certain foods such as your fruits? I'm having no problems on freestyle, staying within my points, but not really seeing a lot of results. Well, sure, Don, right? We give you the food as 0 points because we want you to gravitate to them more so than anything else. So it's that foundation of healthy eating. It helps you build better choices as you move forward through your journey, but you can still overeat on some of them. Much of the stuff that's a 0 point food is not food that we tend to overeat. We don't, usually when you hear someone that goes on a binge, it's usually they didn't dive face first into a bag of apples. That's not how it works. If we were craving apples our entire life and that was our number one snack, there's a good chance we wouldn't be where we're at today. So do I limit myself to an extent? I do. I know that, 5 chicken breasts for dinner is probably not ideal. Sure, it's all 0 points. The reality is I know that's not going to work for me. Last night we had food and I had I had a pork chop. Actually, it's not 0 points, but I had a pork chop and, I wanted an extra piece and I very easily could have had points for it. But I also knew, I'm like, what? I've already had a full one. So I just took a little nibble off another one and moved on and put it in the tracker and did that. So you have to get to the point, Don, where you can start recognizing what content feels like. So many times we eat until we're full. And at that point, you ever notice when you eat until you're full, 10 to 15 minutes later, you feel worse than when you were full? It's the same concept. You eat until you're content. 15 minutes later, you'll get that full feeling that you're looking for. Candace says, I'm a little short on willpower this week. I can't resist the stuff that isn't in line with my goal. I usually go to Connect for motivation, but it isn't working for me right now. I need to dig deeper. Do you have any advice? Candace, the first step in this is the fact that you recognize it, which is huge. Number 2 is that you're connected to an accountability group that understands you. And number 3 is you voiced it. So thank you for all that. I don't believe you're short on willpower because willpower does not allow you to check into the Facebook group. Lack of willpower does not allow you to comment in the way you did. I think it's just a matter of focus. I think what I always do is I ask myself every single time as I was losing the weight is do I want this? Does it align with my goal or does it conflict with my goal? And you have to ask that question often. You can't ask it in the morning and then set out for the middle of your day. You have to ask it in the middle of the day. And sometimes you have to ask it in the middle of a meal. Does this extra chicken breast align with my goal, or does it hinder my goal? So that's the number one question I ask often, and that's the question that usually leads me to putting that next bite away and saying, yeah, I'm done. Right now, this doesn't align with my goal. Getting on Connect, I understand the motivation that's in there. You have to find people who you can relate to on your journey. We're here for you. Plug into the Wise Wingman Facebook group. Go to wisewingman.com. It'll auto launch you into the Facebook group. Find some folks. That group is amazing. They do a lot of great work. So continue to tune in. Candace, you can do this. This is not, you've got what it takes. I can read it in your words because you're here checked in. If you didn't have willpower, you wouldn't have made the comment in the first place. Mary says, there's been a lot of talk about setting your goal weight to the highest allowable weight for your height according to Weight Watchers. Then people get the free e-tools and then go on to get their personal goal weight. Also, lots of people want to buffer between their goal weight and personal goal weight. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So, Mary, I don't know. My thoughts on this is goal for me is a feeling. It's not a number on the scale. Goal for me is I wake up, I put on my medium shirt, I put on my 31-inch pants, I hop on my scale to get an idea for where I'm at. But if you notice as I weigh in every day, I go from, depending on the day, from 185 to 195, somewhere in that range. I don't care about that. I know I'm fully in control of this journey. So regardless of where you set your number, I get the concept for doing it. I get the notion where you set it high, lose another 10 pounds, and then you can buffer around. If that works for you, go get it. But I caution you to think that you're probably, at that point, you're probably not really at your goal, right? If you're truly at your goal weight, you can set it to a point where you're like, this is where I want to live for the rest of my life. And so many people were afraid of that penalty of having to pay, when the reality is that's an accountability tool. And that continues to remind you at that point that, hey, I have bigger goals and I want to get this done. I think one of the other dangers potentially is sometimes you've heard the term so often that don't let a slip turn into a slide. So if you set your goal weight, let's just use some raw numbers. If you set your goal weight, at 150 pounds, let's say, and you hit it, and then you continue down to 130, well, mentally knowing that you can gain 20 pounds, that could very easily cause you to not be able to put the brakes on when you get to 150. But having, and that's why I weigh myself every day, is because I want to keep that accountability. I usually just want to be accountable to the number. And I tell you guys too, don't worry about if you see my scale auto tweet and you see it post on Facebook, for the most part, don't worry about the number. When you should start getting concerned is when you don't see me weigh in, because that's when I've mentally checked out. But in any event, so that's why I do that. But in any event, if you're now, hopping on the scale, regularly, and it's slowly creeping up, and you can go up another 10 to 20 pounds, it will be very difficult because now you're building bad behaviors back in that put those 20 pounds back on, and that bad behavior is going to be very difficult to reverse when you have to start paying. And a lot of folks at that point just skip the meeting altogether because they refuse to pay, and then we know where that gets us. Quitting the program gets you a new start date. That's all it gets you. Almost 100% of the time, if you quit, what you get for quitting is a new start date down the road. More often than not, that new start date comes at a brand new all-time high starting weight as well. So if you don't want a new start weight and you don't want a new start date, then set your goal where you're happy, stick with it, and get it done. April says, so how do you count the fruit used in smoothies? I know you have to count them in smoothies, but how many points are they usually when a piece of fruit is used this way? I want to have one here and there, but not sure how to go about this and what is their point value. April, obviously, one of the concepts is that, this is debated back and forth, but generally the concept is if you take an apple, put it in a blender and drink it, you should track the points for whatever the apple is. Now, there's two different schools of thought on that, but the concept behind it is it takes considerably longer to eat an apple than it does to drink a blended apple. So if we, knowing that all food has calories, you just can't put 40 apples in a blender and drink it in 2 seconds and call that a meal. The calorie at that point and the sugar is probably not ideal. So if you blend it, we want you just to be accountable for what you're doing because you're not gonna, it'll take you forever to eat 40 apples, but you mix them up and you could drink it pretty quickly. So that same level of calorie input takes longer by physically eating it. So therefore, at that point, because we'd rather have you switch to making that transition to choosing the healthy food more often, we offer it as a 0 point item to entice you to go grab it. And like I said, if you're drinking it, then it's just you could drink it real quick and then go grab a snack to go with it. But if you're eating an apple, there's a good chance you're not going to eat an apple and then go right for the brownie at that point either. So some people, some people just don't track it no matter what. As we always say, is let your scale be the guide. If you're happy with the results you're getting, doing it the way you're doing it, move on. If you're putting your fruit in a blender and you're not tracking it, and that week you weigh in less, and the next week you put your fruit in a blender and you weigh in less, then whatever you're doing is working, and keep doing that. But if you put all your fruit in a blender and the scale's going the wrong direction, then it maybe at that point hold yourself accountable to the tracker and make some adjustments in there. But give it a couple weeks to make sure it's really what you're doing. It's the actions over time that are causing the results that you're looking or not looking for. Linda says, do you think our emotional eating stems from our built-in childhood response? Like every time a baby cries, someone sticks a bottle in your mouth. I often think that's why we turn to food when we're stressed. What's your opinion? Well, Linda, it's an interesting thought, but I'm pretty sure every single person on the planet was given a bottle. So that's not really the answer, right? For some of us, it may be, but every child I know that screams gets a bottle, and some of them grew up to be healthy, fit adults along the way. So, it's an interesting topic. There's some probably. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a researcher, so I can't give you, an official. All I can do is give you an opinion. And as you know, when I give you an opinion, it's just me, and there's a bunch of smart people who can disagree, and there's a bunch of smart people who can agree. So I think our emotional eating comes from a lot of different things that make up who we are. And what's cool about it is we are strong enough to make a difference and make a change. And so you just got to recognize that. Recognize that, when you're in an emotional state that you turn to eating. And so find a way to add some other response. So if, a good analogy is, if all of a sudden you have a really, really bad day at work and you come home and eat, then the next time you have a bad day, you need to have an auto response that's not food. You need to plan this in ahead so that you can go. So if I go to work and this happens, when I come home, I read a book 100% of the time. Come home, read a book. Bad day at work, come home, read a book. Bad day at work, come home, read a book. And now you're training yourself to respond to that stress with a different answer than food. But if you come home from stress and you don't have an auto replacement, then you go back to your default. You have to change your default to get this in, and our default is food, and it doesn't matter if we were bottle fed as a child or not. And a couple more here. Sammy 33333, which is Tammy. She's wrote it on Twitter. Says, "Hey, I'm thinking about not looking at the scale anymore and just having the receptionist let me know when I hit the 5-pound milestone. As good as it feels when the number goes down, when it goes up, it ruins my day, and sometimes more than that. Do you have any thoughts on this?" Sammy, here's my thought. You weigh the exact same whether you hop on the scale or not. Whether you know the number or not, you weigh the exact same. I completely understand, and I've experienced it as well. You're hopping on the scale. You did everything right all week. You're expecting a loss. You hop on the scale. It either stays the same. It's up 0.2. It's up a pound. If you can't pinpoint the action that put the scale up, it's frustrating. Sometimes when the scale's up, we say, "Oh yeah, I remember I went to whatever." But if you get to the point where you don't really understand it, it does get you to a point where it can ruin your day. Completely get it. I completely understand. But the reality is, if you know the number, you can adjust that. If you hop on the scale and you say, okay, I'm 2 pounds up, then now you can then say, okay, what did I do this week and how does that impact the scale? Okay, it put me up 2 pounds. And now you'll be forced to make a change. But if you're waiting for someone to, if you get to the point where you never know the number, it could just start creeping out of control and you don't truly know. So I actually do disagree that as a practice, for me, it wouldn't work. For me, I needed to know the number, and I made the adjustment based on it's data, right? It just reinforced what I was doing, or it told me to work harder at what I was doing to get the results that I wanted. So celebrate every little piece down. Celebrate the fact that you weigh in is the victory in this journey. I tell you that more than once. Showing up to the meeting, weighing in, hopping on the scale, and if you're an online member, hopping on the scale in your own right. It's like I said in mine is I weigh in every single day. It doesn't matter. I don't skip a weigh-in morning. And sometimes you'll see on my scale it jumps 3 or 4 pounds overnight. Don't you think there are evenings when we go out, and I come in from, it happened a few months ago. At 1 o'clock in the morning, I found myself in a restaurant. I had a beer, had some wings, right? Clearly wasn't, aligned with the plan. On top of that, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I had to be up early in the morning. So the next morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, whatever, I'm weighing back in. I'm positive that day, I could have skipped the weigh-in, but I knew that it was just data. And exactly like I knew, it put the scale up 4 or 5 pounds, whatever it was, I forget. And then that day I tracked because I said, okay, it's in the direction I don't want to go in. I tracked really well. And then as you see, it just continues to settle back in and go in the direction that I want. So own the number. It's your number. You weigh the same, whether you know it or not. If you know it, if you identified the problem, you can fix it. Hildy says, how do you keep the momentum going, not to get bored or restless after you set a goal and you reached it? Well, Hildy, you don't want to know how I do it because it'll cause you to be up till 1 o'clock in the morning most nights. But I continue to stay checked in with my wingman. Of course, I developed this podcast. I keep the website active. I lead 2 Weight Watcher meetings a week. All of that is because I love this community, but it's also because I love what this community did for me, and I don't ever want to give it back. So as I continue doing this, I know what my why is. The how will change for many of us. How we do this is that momentum. So think of you swinging, vine to vine through a jungle, and so the how is one rope to the next rope. So you do this for a little while, it works, and then as it starts teetering and starts heading the backwards, you grab the other vine and you propel yourself forward. That's what the how is. So for me, it started off as having the Facebook page, and then adding Instagram, and then adding Snapchat, and then adding the podcast. I'm sure, and now it's the same thing. Trying to build this production thing that I'm trying to do is another how, and it's going to continue to keep that momentum going for me, because I just continue to try to strive to do better in everything that I do. And when I recognize that things are kind of either slowing down or stalling, I don't want to go backwards. So I swing forward in the next direction. Annie says, I've been away from my meeting since December 3rd. We were gone until March. I elected to do online. I have completely lost my mojo, and I'm in yo-yo mode. I've been all over the place, had been up 7 and had a loss last week, so I'm 3 away from where I weighed in on December 3rd. What do you do when your why doesn't do it? I hate not being at my meeting. I do weigh in with meeting buddies every Sunday, but the struggle is daunting. I've even gone back to paper tracking and pencil pre-tracking. I'm going through the motions. I want 2018 to be the year of lifetime. I want my mojo back, but I can't seem to find and grab a hold of it. Annie, go through the 5 questions. Let's get your why solidified. Why did you join? You didn't hop in on accident. You didn't just all of a sudden accidentally pull out your credit card, so let me try this. You deliberately signed up for a reason. That reason wasn't your health. It wasn't to feel better. It was a little bit deeper than that. Because you've always wanted to be healthy. So therefore you have to go, okay, what does that mean? What's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life? And do you believe this is easier than that or more difficult than that? Who is responsible for your success? You're responsible for your success. So you want 2018 to be the year of lifetime, but are you willing to take the actions it takes to make 2018 the year of lifetime? You can't rely on hope. You can't rely on luck. You can't just want this. You actually have to go get it. If you want it and you're willing to go get it, it's there. So you have to go after it and get it and get your mojo back and find it and grab hold of it. Now there's a couple different ways to do that. And one of them is, like I said, you go through those questions where you ask yourself, can I really honestly do this? Do I believe I can do it? And if you don't initially believe, that's okay. I didn't believe when I first started that this was possible, but I set small goals along the way that I could believe in. Do I believe I can make lifetime this year? I wasn't sure. It wasn't an immediate yes, so to me, that's a no. Do I believe I can attend a meeting next week? Yeah, I believe that. Do I believe I can attend a meeting next week? Yeah, I can do that. Do I believe I can track breakfast? Yeah, I can do that. So you have to find things you believe in. You have to know why you're doing this. And then you just absolutely just continue following the plan until you get it. Go to a meeting, check in with your group, stay connected. You can do this. There are so many successful people who've done this, and they're just regular people. There's nothing special about me. Right? I just knew what I wanted. And I asked myself often, are you really sick and tired? And yeah, I really am. Would you rather have pizza or would you rather make goal? Well, tonight I'd rather make goal. Would you rather go out tonight with friends and hang out and have fun, or would you rather stay home and wake up weighing less in the morning? Most days I choose way less in the morning, but I don't always get the answer correct. But I always ask the question, and more often than not, I get it right. So your mojo is here. I'm here to give it back to you. But you've got to unscrew the cap and drink it up. Go get goal. It's waiting for you. 2018 will be the year you make lifetime. Give up hope. Give up wanting luck and go get it. Tanny writes this, I really believe tracking is what got me to goal. Do you agree that it's very important, that it's a very important tool? And how important are goals? I absolutely believe tracking is the key, because tracking is what taught me how to control my portion size. So if before I was tracking, I could kind of guess at what I was eating. And then when I actually started putting it in the tracker, I realized I was actually overeating. So being accountable to what you eat is very, very important. But the most important piece that I think tracking did for me is when I had a week that I was successful, I could look back at the tracker and say, okay, could I duplicate that week if I needed to? I did. First, one of my strategies over the holidays was, as I looked at the meals, I have a week that I know that I can eat an entire week, and I do really well on plan. So when I face a scenario where I'm feeling like that, it could be a challenge, then I go back in the tracker and I look for that week, and I mentally take note of what I had that week, and that is what I duplicate, the week after Christmas, let's just say. I've already proven that week works well for me. I've proven I like all the food. It's easy. So the beauty of the tracker is you have that data point to go back and reference to. So it's absolutely, and goals are important. But the goals have to be things you actually can do. You have to have control over your goal. You can't set a goal that you don't have the ability to stick to. And so my favorite one that people try and set to is, I want to lose 50 pounds by June 1st. You have no control over that. And so it happened to me on my journey as I set a number goal. I can't remember exactly. Somewhere around 70 pounds, I said, I want to hit 70 pounds before our big event in July. Well, I came up on the event and I was 68 pounds down. I remember waking up that morning disappointed. How crazy is that? Down 68 pounds. And I was disappointed in myself because I missed a 70-pound weight loss goal. I have no ability to control how much my body sheds. I have every ability in choosing to eat healthy. I have every ability to get up and go for a walk. I have every ability to make it to a gym. So if you're going to set goals, which are very important on this journey, set a goal that you can hit. Measure it. Ask yourself every morning, is what I'm doing right now aligned with this goal? If you listen to the podcast interview I did on End of 3 Fitness Better Humanology podcast, I was interviewed on that a couple days ago. If you listen to that podcast, Jared Moon, shout out to him, he asked me, he asked me about goal setting, and he said in one of his goals was he wanted to get up every morning at 4:30 and read a book. And so now think about that. If that is your goal, do you have the capability to do that? You absolutely do. Any one of us could set that goal to set an alarm at 4:30 and wake up. But what we have to do during the day is we have to say, do the actions that I'm doing now support that goal or not? So if someone calls you at midnight and says, hey, Mike, do you want to go out tonight? And my goal is to wake up every single morning at 4:30, I have to decline the invitation at midnight to go hang out. That's how you set a goal. So that's kind of an example of what is your goal? Ask yourself if the action supports it or if it hinders it. And when you, more often than not, when you make actions and make choices to take actions that support your goals, you accomplish them. And when you accomplish them, you hop on the scale, not wanting to lose any more weight. And then we celebrate. What is it that you're celebrating? Let's share it on the air. Go to fatdag.com. Click on Wise Advice Podcast to send in your celebrations, your comments, your questions. I'll work them in as part of the show. You can always catch the show live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Wise Advice. That's the show handle. You'll absolutely know when the next live episode is, but it's absolutely fun to hang out with you. And I'm very, very proud of what you're doing. I want the world to know how awesome you are, how awesome we are together, and how amazing we all look at goal. Well, that's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight and getting healthy has nothing to do with luck. You have to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goal and go after it. I wish you good focus. Whoa. That says 49 minutes. So why didn't someone tell me? Man, crazy. 49 minutes. It's like a marathon. Woohoo. I need like better chairs. I don't know what kind of chair, but better chair or something. But cool. Thank you, folks, for being here. Sorry, Instagram, I guess that should have been a cue. Instagram cut out on me in the middle. Instagram only gives me an hour in the live feed. I know when we talked to the production company today, so here's what's going to be cool. They had 3 cameras in the studio. So there's 3 cameras that are all remote control, and they're going to take those 3 cameras and feed them into, I don't forget what the name of the feed is, but we'll be able to be live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram all at the same time. And I wonder if that'll give us more than just an hour on Instagram. So we'll see. Yeah, Susie, I saw you pop over there. I saw you hop over. You went from here to there and then back to here. I saw you. I can, during the show, I can kind of see what's going on, but you'll notice when I start reading your comments, because then I forget what I'm thinking about, and then I have to repeat myself 10 times. So I try not to read, but I like to keep up. I mean, we're a group, so very, very, very fun. So no, Lee, I really wasn't. No, Lee, we are. I know, Felber, Susie. It's this brain does a lot. It's not impressive, I tell you. I know you're impressed. Trust me, it's not impressive. It's a mess up here. It's like, ugh. So, we again, I keep harping on this. We're talking with the production company today, and I just we're like Random Man. I'm like, oh yeah, and then this, and this, and then we start talking about something different, and I just go off on tangents. But it's good to get it all captured out. But Lee, kind of the concept, Lee, is that this production company that I'm getting ready to work with is, 3 or 4 cameras, a full production crew, and we're going to probably do. I'm waiting for some details. It's not 100% ironed out. We've got to figure out what these details are. But the concept is, they're a full production studio, and they looked at all the data that I brought them for the show. They looked at all of you guys and how awesome you are and how big the audience is and how engaged the audience is. And at that point, they said, "Oh yeah, we're in." So we just got to figure out what they're in means. So we'll see. But if it all comes to light the way I believe it's going to, this is a, we do have a show at least once a week that's a no kidding TV show. So it'll be fun to see how that transpires. So I'm looking forward to that. So cool. Deb, so yeah, this is my plan all along, is to do this show every single night. The thing I realized on my journey is I couldn't do this on my own. I needed accountability, and once a week checking into a meeting, as awesome as that wasn't enough for me. I needed a little more accountability. So as I go through this process, the reason I want to do the show nightly is because I believe you need it nightly, because I needed it nightly. So, Donna, don't worry, you guys. So we got off on a tangent. I didn't mean for that tangent to happen. So when we talk with advertisers who bring onto the show, one of the things I have to do is just how the advertising world works, is I have to look at my data on the download data, and we have to commit to a number that says how many downloads will this show get if we run a commercial. And that's how we determine the rate. That's how we determine how much that commercial is going to cost. And so I have to do a download. And so a lot of you guys, we got off on a tangent where you're like, oh, let's go. No, I figured out the numbers low enough where I'm not at all worried about hitting them. So don't go hit play just to get the numbers up. That's pointless. Tune into the message. That's what I want you to do. Stay focused on what you're doing. I got that end taken care of. Okay. So just listen to the show when you feel like you need to listen to it. Plug in where you need to plug in. Don't get crazy about doing it. The thing that would be nice, though, is when we do talk about an advertiser, go visit them, because that's how they track it as well, is are you visiting their website? Legitimately check out the products that are being offered, because I've already done it. I'm not exaggerating. I sat there 2 days ago and had my blood drawn for the advertiser on tomorrow's night show. Health IQ is an insurance company. So they sent me, they wanted to put some ads on the show. And I said, in order for me to do that, I need to check your rates and I need to go through the process. So no kidding, Sunday morning at 7:45, a lady was over here. She drew my blood. We did through the whole application process, and out it goes. That's the level of commitment I have if I'm going to bring an advertiser to the show. So check it out, but don't go crazy trying to stay in your lane. I'll stay in my lane, and we'll get it done. Make sense? Cool. Whew. Yeah. So Pam, no, I agree. I agree that a nightly show is great, but obviously, I don't even know what time it is now. It's it's almost. We started at 9:30, so now we're an hour and 20 minutes into it. It's going to take me 30 to 40 minutes to get the show ready. So part of this production company will take a lot of that off my plate as well. So that's the number one reason I sought them out, is because a typical show for me takes about 4 hours to get to you. It takes an hour or two ahead of time, takes an hour and a half of the show, takes an hour or two after the show. So every show is about 4 hours. So doing it nightly generally means I come home from work and I start working on the show, and then I go live, and then I go to bed at midnight. So can I do it nightly? It's difficult, but I know it's needed. So that's why I rely on you to go back and listen to previous episodes as well. I think we settled into 9:30 tonight. The 9:30 time slot worked. We'll see what that does. And so it gets me 30 minutes ahead of time. So we'll see. So cool beans. Let's wrap this up. I think we got everything covered. Great input from the Facebook page. Thank you for that. This will go out as episode 162. It's sponsored by you guys, so there's no advertised in it. So, yep. So very, very fun for that. And let's see, what else do we got? We're going to make goal, right? 2018 is our year. If you set New Year's resolutions and for some reason you haven't stuck to them, it's still time to reset. There's no rule that you have to make them on January 1st and then wait till January to reset them. You can start over and completely change your life, and you can make that decision now. Have a great night. We will see you tomorrow night. No, tomorrow night I do a Weight Watcher meeting, so there's probably a no-show tomorrow night. Good chance we'll be back on Wednesday. Follow me on Twitter, and you will know exactly when the next one is. So let's close YouTube. Good night.